can help to make this world a better place. You're a part of this great human race.
It all began one day when Pamela came home from school.
I'm home!
Pamela announced as she walked into the house and closed the door behind her. Her mother responded to Pamela's proclamation by calling out from the family room.
Pamela, please come here. I need to talk to you.
Uh-oh. Something must be wrong.
Pamela muttered to herself. She walked into the family room and found her mother sitting at the table, writing a note on some light blue stationery. She wasn't looking forward to hearing what her mother had to say. Pamela placed her school books and lunchbox on the table and heaved a big sigh as she settled into a chair. Solemnly, her mother began to speak.
Mrs. McAllister called today. She told me that Audrey Steinhofer had gone to her aunt's house to spend the weekend, and Audrey and her aunt were driving to the grocery store when another car crossed over the center line and hit them head-on. Audrey's aunt was hurt very badly, and Audrey was killed.
Pamela jumped to her feet.
Killed? Audrey Steinhofer killed?
Yes, sweetheart. Audrey Steinhofer is dead.
Pamela's mother affirmed softly. Pamela began pacing back and forth nervously, wringing her hands as she walked. It was unlike Pamela to talk before she thought about every word she was going to say, but at the moment her brain was too stunned to think. So unconsciously she began to ramble on and on.
It can't be true. It's impossible. I just saw Audrey on Friday. Well, we were at the same lunch table together. I've been going to school with Audrey since kindergarten. Well, I don't believe it. No, it's not
Realizing
true.
that the news of Audrey's death affected Pamela deeply, Pamela's mother stood up and walked over to her distraught daughter. Lovingly, she put her arms around Pamela and tried to console her.
I'm writing Audrey's parents a sympathy letter, and I think it would be nice if you would write one, too.
But what would I say?
Pamela stammered. Her mother thought for a moment and then responded.
Why don't you tell the Steinhofers how special Audrey was and how much she will be missed?
Pamela thought about her mother's suggestion. Admittedly, it was a good idea, but she had never written a sympathy note before, and she wasn't sure she could do it. Grabbing her school books, Pamela headed toward her bedroom. Her mother called after her.
Pamela, are you going to write the letter?
Maybe.
Pamela said unconvincingly as she disappeared into her room. The next day at school, all anyone could talk about was the tragic accident that had taken Audrey Steinhofer's life. As the day passed, the gruesome story was hashed and rehashed. Each time it was told, the details were changed or exaggerated. By the end of the day, so many different versions of the story had been invented, it was impossible for anyone to know exactly what had happened. Only one fact remained unchanged. Audrey Steinhofer was dead. When Pamela came home from school that day, she went straight to her room. She was unloading her school books onto her bed when she noticed several sheets of light blue stationery stacked neatly on her desk. It was the same kind of stationery Pamela's mother had used for the sympathy letter she had written to the Steinhofers. Pamela knew immediately that the stationery had been placed on her desk so she would remember to write a sympathy letter to the Steinhofers. Staring at the stationery, Pamela plopped herself into her desk chair and sighed out loud. After a short while, Pamela began to rummage through her bottom desk drawer. Soon she found the class picture that had been taken earlier that year. Pamela ran her finger across each row of faces until she located the one that belonged to Audrey. For the first time, she examined the last school portrait that would be taken of Audrey Steinhofer. Audrey did not have a pretty face, and the fact that she wore glasses and was short and chunky didn't help. In addition to her lack of traditional beauty, Audrey was only an average student with no apparent musical, artistic, or athletic talent. One might easily conclude that Audrey was a person without any special qualities. Suddenly, Pamela glanced at the clock.
Oh, no. I'm going to be late for the club meeting.
She quickly gathered her things together and rushed to find her mother.
Mom, I need to go to the clubhouse. I'll be back in time to set the table for dinner.
Pamela's mother reached out and took hold of her daughter's arm.
Just a minute, Pamela.
She said.
Did you have a chance to write?
Pamela knew what her mother was going to ask and felt compelled to interrupt.